All right, well, welcome to Atheism versus Logic. I hope you're having a great day. And I really have just one big question for you today regarding yesterday's post. So after I posted yesterday about protein aggregation, and that protein aggregation proves a creator because a designer, a creator had to put in place, these J proteins and chaperones, to deal with protein aggregation. The real question is, what did you do with that information? Jesus said, seek and you shall find, knock and the door will be open unto you. So did you seek, did you study protein aggregation, J proteins, chaperonins? If not, then that might tell you something about yourself that you don't want to believe in God. So I guess the bigger question is, do you even want to know that there is a God if there is one? Or are you just trying to avoid truth and only see things as you want to see them? For me, I do want to know the truth, and I've tried to study anything I can get my hands on the origin of life. And you guys have posted an article about RNA bases arising in primordial. Well, I don't know if it says soup or not, but here's a screenshot of that article. I first saw that article on Richard Dawkins' page, and I was shocked because I just thought they already found all the RNA bases coming about naturally. I didn't know that they didn't. So, but still, I've studied RNA World Hypothesis, and it is not convincing to me. The reason why is that, number one, it's not in functional sequences. I'm okay with self-replicating RNA. I don't think that's a big deal. And then when it is able to become a ribozyme, well, that can't produce proteins, right? So a ribosome is a ribozyme pretty much with proteins. And that's what creates the ribosome. And you should study the ribosome. So I don't see that the RNA World Hypothesis could get us anywhere close to life, because if you have self-replicating RNA, it's not in functional sequences. And if it can't turn those sequences into proteins, because a ribozyme cannot do that, well, then it doesn't matter. There's no way to test if these sequences can create functional proteins, because it can't even create a functional protein, because you've got to have functional proteins, which is really what this keeps coming back to, that you have to have so many functional proteins for life chance, right? You've got to have the proteins and the ribozyme together to create a ribosome. You've got to have something to copy the DNA to make it strands of RNA, these genes that would be taken to the ribosome to be translated into functional peptide bonds that would be a protein, but then it has to fold properly. So you've got to have agents that help it fold properly. And then if there is protein aggregation because of stress, right, the cells undergo stress, and that can mess with the proteins. And so you've got to have these mechanisms inside of a cell to deal with protein aggregation. And then you've got to have ATP synthase for the energy for the proteins that take care of protein aggregation. So right there, you've got a protein to copy the DNA. You've got, the proteins inside the ribosome, to translate the gene into a functional protein. You've got the chaperonins, and you've got ATP synthase. So there you've got at least 4 groups of proteins that would have to, and I'm sure there's more, I'm going to keep studying, but that's at least 4 groups of proteins that have to be there for them to work, right? And so, it really does always come back to irreducible complexity and the watchmaker's argument. I know you guys hate it. I don't care. That's just because you don't want to know God. That's why you reject irreducible complexity and why you reject the watchmaker's argument, because it is valid. So again, ask yourselves, what did you do with yesterday's post? When I posted that protein aggregation proved the existence of God, did you seek that out? Did you want to know the truth? Were you like, man, this might be right. I'm going to study protein aggregation, J proteins, and chaperonins. Or did you get defensive? So maybe that just means you don't want to believe in a God. You're not trying to follow the science, and you're blindly following scientists who we've already talked about. The majority of them are closed-minded. They will only accept materialistic views. There are plenty of scientists out there that you can find that do believe in a creator, and they'll tell you there is peer pressure. They'll lose funding. They can lose their job. by saying that God did it, even though it's so obvious that God did it, because of these amazing mechanisms and these functional sequences inside living cells. So I hope you're having a good day, but I hope you're honest with yourself. And I hope you do say and change your mind and say, you know what, if there is a God, I do want to know about it. All right, follow the evidence step by step. It doesn't mean you accept Jesus or the Bible immediately. That just means you are open to theism or deism if the evidence points to it.